Givers and growers, what is up? Eric and Ryan coming at you today on this this chilly March morning in Memphis right now. But dude, it's officially spring. The year is 2024. It's another day to be alive. We are blessed.
So before we begin with this, if I can just ask for y'all to please like the video, subscribe to our channel. We're sorry that we haven't been putting out a bunch of content recently, but we're hoping that that's going to change with like the Grow Show and some more other kinds of content that we have lined up. But we want to thank the people that have continued to support us. You know, our subs are going up still. Just thank you so much for that. And with that, let's get into our discussion. Some things that have been going on in our lives since the last Grow Show, which was, I mean, I would say probably almost like 9 months ago, I think was the last time we had one, because we've been so focused on the market, and we haven't been posting recently because we've been trying to figure out how we wanted to proceed with the channel. We're not trying to like rebrand or anything like that, but we just want to be able to provide as much value as we can to y'all. And like what I said before, we're still gonna be having videos on the market. We're still gonna be having videos on our joint. But this is something that him and I really were wanting to pick back up again, because I think one of the funnest things for me is just talking about financial things, or like talking about things that can lead to like better habits. You know, he's very, very big on like, you know, bettering yourself every day, psychology and stuff like that. And I think that
self-help.
yeah, self-help. I think that psychology and mindset can really set you up for a really, really good future. Right now, I think what the world kind of like pushes out is not really working anymore. And what's even more dangerous is some things that people put out, I think, can really destroy you if you don't know what you're doing. So
100%, I completely agree. When you think about the psychology of just making decisions in everyday life, you know, everything comes down to a process, and I'm big on those things. You know, when you look at people's lives, usually you can look at their habits, and eventually that's going to lead to where they end up, whether it be their finances, their health, their relationships, all those things. So I love studying all those things, talking about them, and just kind of getting deeper into them to just better my own life. But also, Ryan and I both want to get that out to everybody, because we want everybody to be the best versions of themselves. And that's what I'm pumped for the Grow Show.
Yeah. We're hoping that this can be something that people can just tune into and be like, you know, I've never heard a perspective like that, or I've never seen somebody do things like that. You know, maybe I can start doing that. Or, you know, if you have like kids or like teenagers and you want to be able to kind of like help set them up, it always starts with you.
Yep.
Because I feel that a lot of people like to look outward and be like, oh, well, you're the reason why I can't do this, or I'm blaming you for this. But in the end, it starts with you. For example, you know, we can start here by just going back into like our lives and how this has affected us. You know, for a while, you know, I held on to a lot of stuff from the past, and I would blame like, you know, I would blame like people in my life. I would blame, you know, my circumstances. But then I realized that, you know, if you strip down everything to its core, you're only left with yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, you're left with the things that you have to move forward. So, you know, when I stopped blaming other people, which, you know, I wasn't like a vengeful, like mean-spirited kind of guy, but, you know, I just remember that I held on to a lot of things in my life that weren't really progressing me at all. They were just like, you know, the past was in the past, and I was sitting here still harping on that, and I wasn't progressing. Even I was progressing in some ways, but I wasn't progressing in like my foundation wasn't moving up.
I got you.
Like some things were moving, but overall my overall self wasn't moving, or it wasn't raising or anything like that. So.
I got you. How much freer do you feel now that you've kind of like changed your perspective on that and your attitude about that?
It's been something that, you know, I've been free. I think that recently there's been some things in my life, without getting too much into like things outside of finance, like, I'm doing carnivore, the carnivore diet for, this will be my 13th week this next week. I realized that there were some things in my life, I just want to quickly shout out my wife, Lydia, for kind of giving me a perspective of like, what's the root cause of why you do the things that you do. And, I saw food as comfort. I saw food as this like escape. And yeah, like, obviously we all love food. We all love the taste of food, but it was a deeper rooted issue. And, it's just something that I had to learn to give up. I had to release it all. I had to just throw it out. And, it's definitely helped me mentally to be able to proceed with stuff like this. And I think that we can take stuff like this and apply it to our financial lives. Yeah. Since the last Grow Show, I was living in a house with my cousin, and something that happened was, my cousin decided to move out, to go live in a different place. And one of the things that we were faced with was whether or not we wanted to stay in that house, right? So, just to be transparent about how much that was going to be, we were paying 2/3 of everything going on over there. So, our rent was like a little under like $1,000 a month, and we split like utilities, which living in a house, utilities are so expensive.
Oh yeah,
so much more expensive than living in this like apartment. So, sometimes we would have utility bills that were upwards of like $250, $300. Sometimes like I remember one utility bill here, it was like $400, but that was back during like hyperinflation, when like energy was just like through the roof, right? But we were faced with a decision on whether or not we wanted to stay. Now, the common person, I'm not going to go into our finances, but we could definitely afford to be there while also investing continuously, saving continuously, and being able to continue to set up those building blocks. But the thing is, though, we decided to just move because if you looked at how much we would be saving, it was a lot. Like, I want to say it was around like $800 a month if we were to be there versus coming here.
No, it's shoot. I would have done the same thing.
I mean, like it's a big savings, but like, a lot of people would be like, oh, well, you're moving from like this house to like, like we moved from a 3-bed, 2-bath house to this 1-bed, 1-bath apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, why are you downsizing? Like, why do you want to do that? For one, we didn't own the house. Number two, we didn't need the space. We really didn't need the space. I would say that the space that we have here is like just enough. And it was just a decision that was like, we just didn't really think it was necessary to be in there. And I know that the current mindset that like a lot of people have is like, oh, well, I don't want to go back to where I was.
Right.
They think that the ladder is a continuous move up. Now, in like a perfect world, like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, you want to keep on moving up, but sometimes it doesn't make sense to be here when the situations you could be in are better for you right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say that was an example of like decision making that a lot of people don't really think about, because this world is very here in the West, very, very like ladder heavy, consumeristic heavy.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Joneses, like you always want to be moving up.
Right.
And I think people are afraid of what people might say if they're like, oh, well, they're moving to this apartment when they were in a house. I'm gonna tell you right now, one of the things when it comes to my finances and when it comes to like life in general, you got to block out the noise. like what's best for y'all, what's best for you, what's best for your family. It doesn't matter what they say, because they can say things and like think that, oh well, you're doing it wrong, but it's like their version of wrong for them might be different for you.
Yeah.
Like if somebody were to tell me you need to stay in that house, I'd be like, what, like why? And they're like, oh well, you have more space. Well, we don't need the space. Oh well, it's a house, so what?
So from a psychological standpoint, when it comes to like cognitive biases and like external factors and all these things, how does someone like yourself, or just a person in general, how do they get to that point of making decisions logically versus all these external things? Because like you're saying, people are going to have opinions. Being in America, there's kind of this, like, I don't want to say it's a standard, but it's this kind of idea of this American dream. Like you're saying, you got to keep going up. But then you have individuals that they kind of escape all that. They have delayed gratification. They become wealthy. They take that next level with their finance, their lives. But like we were talking at the beginning, habits and processes built that. So
yeah,
how does one start to think that way if they've always thought the other way based on the environment they were raised in, based on the way their parents thought? How does one get from being over there to where the way that you're thinking logically now?
I'd probably start off with the first thing being, it starts with you, right? It definitely starts with you. When you give your mind to other people, and they're the ones that kind of have this big like influence in your life. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have mentors. I'm not saying you shouldn't have, people that you research and like see what they do. I'm not saying stuff like that. But I think that a lot of people over here allow other people to heavily influence their life choices and their decisions, even if it goes against what's best for them. So I would say, I'm not saying sever the ties with people, because I believe that as humans we're made to be in communities. Now I've struggled with that a lot, because for a while I thought that I can do everything on my own. But what I realized is that like I need help, but I don't want people to have too much influence that it's like I'm living their dream, I'm living their life. I want to live my own life, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the first step is to look inward and think about what is best for you. Sever those ties of influence from other people. Do a lot of your own research. Now, this goes back to the thing. You can research things that people say. You can because information comes from people. Like we've been in this society now where just like so much information is so readily available to you that you can be able to basically go and like search up things. Do your research and form your life in a way that's based off of what's best for you from what you've researched on your own. Okay. Now, there's always going to be common ground with everybody, which is fine, but you don't always have to follow like one person or follow, like a group of people. You can soak a lot of different information like a sponge from different sources and kind of like make your own path.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be the first one.
So have a vision.
Yeah. Make your life in a way that is going towards that. Now, your vision can change, your path can change, but I think that we get caught up in this analysis paralysis, where we're like, oh well, I'm thinking too much. Like sometimes you gotta take a risk and you gotta go down, a path. We took the risk of like downsizing coming here. We didn't know how it was gonna be. We didn't know if it was gonna be good for us, but in the end, it ended up being good for us. When it comes to your education, to the jobs you want to find, even more on like a social aspect, the people you surround yourself with. Your community.
Would you say that's a big issue with society is we lack vision. We like to live in the now, and we typically don't think about 10, 20, 30 years down the road. not only from financial, but also just like the food we put in our body.
Yeah, I would say it's a lot worse now than it was back in the day. There was more of a blueprint for people back in the day.
Right.
Like, I would say that like the boomers were set up for so much success because they came off the heels of I forgot what the generation before them was called. I think it was the Golden Age, which was like World War II. Everybody during like the 40s or like 30s to the mid 50s, I would say.
Yeah.
Millennials and Gen Zers and like Gen Alpha are kind of like, I would say Gen Zers and in the future Gen Alpha is going to be even more confused. But right now, millennials like you and me, we're kind of in this space where we're trying to forge our own paths, but also try to go down the paths of like what the boomers set up that was successful for them. And it's starting to get a little more difficult. I think that a lot of millennials took the advice from their parents and were like, okay, well, go to college right out of high school, which I'm not saying is bad, but I feel like a lot of people just go to college without knowing what they want to do, without considering how much debt they're going to be in.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Whether or not their college degree is even going to get them a job, and it's because I was told that this was the way, right? I was told that this was the way, but it's it's just something that that was easier for the boomers back in the day. That's harder for millennials today, and that goes for buying a house. That goes for starting a family. Like all these things that was easy back in the day are definitely a lot harder to achieve today. The American dream is just dead. I think it's just dead right now. At least probably for a while. It's just harder right now. So going back to your question, I would say besides thinking inwardly and forging your own path and doing your own research, you got to be informed of things going on in the world. I would say. I think that a lot of people, especially now with this age of like social media, we're so big on just watching something and then internalizing that and being like, oh well, I saw this from like TikTok or YouTube. I mean, even this video, like, and disclaimer.
Give and grow.
Yeah. Give and grow. Disclaimer. I don't want y'all to take what like we're saying and be like, oh yeah, they said do this, so I'm gonna do that. Think for yourself. I think that a lot of people don't want to think for themselves. They want to like hive mind everything. They want to be like, okay, well, my political party says this, my ex party says this, or my mom said that, or my grandparents said. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't take advice. But what I'm saying is the advice helping you actually? Go into the financial portion of this. This might be controversial, but in objective thing that I think that everybody should understand is that you have to sacrifice. You have to think down the road, and you have to be someone that can, like what he just said, delay gratification. I think that's huge. And like, we're big Dave Ramsey fans, and he says this a lot. But I really think that everybody wants to live in a world where they can have everything right now. And they're like, oh, well, I'll never sacrifice eating good food all the time, or I'll never sacrifice, my car, my really nice car, or where I live. That is a form of keeping up with the Joneses to me, because it's not just your house. It's a lifestyle creep. It's like, the kinds of foods you eat. The things you do, vacations even, like these things, if you don't have the funds or things to justify you being able to do those things, you have to readjust and reevaluate, or else if you stay there, you're just going to just lose everything.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, the world that we live in today with increased inflation, increased interest rates, it's hard. Like, I don't even have kids right now, so I can only imagine, a family of 3 or 4 trying to make it in this economy. So you have to really be on your toes, with your budgeting. You have to get creative. You got to save in all areas of your life. And it's not, and like I said, it's not easy to do right now. But I think I saw a statistic when I was coming over here. I think credit card debt is at an all-time high, but also interest rates on credit cards are at an all-time high. That is scary. That is scary to think about.
Right.
I know more and more people are using credit cards to pay their rent,
Yeah.
to pay for their groceries. And a lot of that has to do with the economy that we live in right now.
Yeah.
But, I talk about this a lot with Ryan. Ultimately, life comes down to positioning.
Yeah.
You like to use, I think, the story of the feast and the famine from the Bible,
Yeah.
but it's true. In people's lives, you're going to see a lot of feasting going on. But who can save up for the famine? Those are the ones that are going to be prepared for these moments. And, you've done a fantastic job of that. I think you have like a 50% savings rate or something.
Really?
You have no debt. So all these things that you talk about, you live it. I'm doing okay.
Just in general, I would say that there's a lot of things that people are not willing to do. And, my heart does go out for people that do not have jobs right now. I know it's hard. And I know that you're grinding. Keep up the grind, build up your skills, and it's going to pay off one day. You might find a job tomorrow. If it does take time, that just gives you more time to build up the skills and eventually get to where you want to be. You got to make decisions on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis, year basis, like we were saying, 10-year, 20-year. It's always going to benefit you. You don't want to be like what he just said, in a position, if your positioning is my lifestyle is up here, but my finances are like all the way down here, which is like your income, your budgeting, just the way that you live your life, which is kind of like up here in the lifestyle category. The finances have to be, I would argue the finances have to be way over.
Oh yeah.
But for the common person, they probably think in terms of like if they're like equal. A lot of people like to do it where the finances are lower and the lifestyle is like higher. You don't want to be there.
Well, a credit card can give you a lot of confidence in that too.
But enough about me. I wanted to ask about you because you've had a lot of things happen in your life since the last Grow Show. So in terms of we'll use your question. What are some things that people can do to set themselves up from like a mental, psychological, and then financial that has, I guess, helped you during the past like 9 months or so?
Yeah. So over the past year, we've moved to a new home, but currently we only have one income. So life has changed a lot. I'd say the biggest thing is not changing our posture. We're still trying to get small wins every single day, whether it be my diet, my exercise, the efficiency of my job. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, woe is me, the world's out to get me, I'm a victim. No, all the things that I talked about when things were great on the mountaintop, I'm going to keep doing that down in the valley. But this ended up being a blessing in disguise for us because we didn't really budget. We talked about it all the time. I just kind of had an idea how we were doing. I always wanted to put a certain amount into investments. But when I actually sat down and budgeted over the last 2 months, because I had no other choice, it was crazy the amount of money that we were spending on things that it was just kind of a waste. Like it was stuff that I justified in my mind, like, getting Smoothie King or getting ribeye steaks when I go to restaurants.
You're fancy, man.
I know I was doing a little too much. But yeah, you take away an income, you have to budget. You really see it. And, when we do go to 2 incomes again, I'm never going to stop budgeting now. I love having that information. So that's another thing. Like when something goes against you, flip it and use it for your good.
Yeah.
And that's, we were going to start budgeting anyway. But this just forced us into it. And also from like a relationship marriage perspective, it was kind of the first time we've gone through, you could say COVID was kind of difficult for people's mental health, but
yeah,
that was our first year of marriage. But it's strengthened our relationship. Sometimes we have to have tough conversations. Yeah. Ultimately the biggest thing is my posture has not changed. I'm still educating myself. I'm still learning. I'm still excited. Where your focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
I'm waking up every day. I'm just, I was thankful back then when we had 2 jobs and life was great. But when I wake up now, I'm just as thankful. And to me, life is still just as great.
Oh, yeah.
The Lord has blessed us with so many things. I've got awesome friends. I have my health. I still have a great job. I thank the Lord for those things. My posture on those things is never going to change. So
That's awesome, man.
I'd say those are the biggest things.
Going back to the budgeting part.
Yes, sir.
I think that people don't realize how much money they could actually be saving or investing, because the thing is that if you don't look at your transactions, if you don't know where your money is going, then it's just gonna go. It's like,
oh, yeah.
It's almost as if they're not even there. Think about like, we always talk about $1 million is like a lot of money. If you think about it in the terms of like your like day to day, each dollar is $1 closer to you getting to $1 million.
Yeah.
So every dollar matters. And like, just taking this from the money guys, love y'all. Basically you want to put those dollars to work. They're soldiers. They are there to continue to build your wealth, to build the life that you want. And if you know where the money is going,
mm-hmm.
and going back to them too, you become this like financial mutant when you can be able to optimize your budget, optimize your investments over the long period. It's gonna be a lot more than $1 million.
I mean, you know what Buffett said, the way that he thought about it is it was kind of crazy how young he was already thinking about these things. Mm-hmm. But even at a very young age, he understood, because he was educated, but he understood the power of compounding. Yeah. And he said he viewed every dollar as $10. So if he had $10, he viewed that as 100. So he understood. He would always compound it out 10%. So if you gave him $1, he's like, oh no, this is $10. And you gave him 100. Oh no, this is $1,000. This is $10,000. And so he never wanted to waste those dollars.
Right.
Because it was like, instead of wasting $1, I was really wasting $10. I know we shouted out Ramsey, we shouted out Money Guys, but we got a little shout out to Buffett too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, that's another way to think about it. Not $1.
See,
it's 10.
And that's crazy too, because on the flip side, if $1 is $10, if you spend $1, then you're losing $10.
Exactly.
And I think that one of the biggest things that we like to do over here in the States, and I'm not, once again, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but we spend a lot of money on useless things, on things that are just not gonna make you anything in the future. Now you can be extreme like me. I'm not saying you should go down this path, because I started out my journey, like what I mentioned before, I was hardcore into like minimalism and not spending money on myself and like saving a lot of money. I've definitely come out of that, because as you get older, there's a balance, right?
Yes.
But if you're not in the balance, you're either hardcore, which I would argue is better than you being on the opposite end, which is spending all your money on stuff you don't need. Not budgeting, not keeping up with your transactions, not investing. All these years of compound interest are so important, but like compound interest is kind of working in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, instead of being this like multimillionaire with like a lot of like options, you're in massive amounts of debt. You have you're probably house poor. You probably couldn't even afford a house. You have all this consumer debt, and you're spending time. You either have to make a choice where you're spending time trying to fix that, mm-hmm. or you go deeper into the hole, and then you end up in this place where you've lost all hope. I'm not saying that like you should ever lose hope, but it becomes infinitely harder. And we only have so much time in this life, we only have so much time. It's like, when I think about my 40s and 50s, like, do I want to be penny pinching by that time? Like, not really.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's ever going to change for me, but it's something that's, if you understand what is like real value and what is like, what kind of value is like not there, mm-hmm. then it's definitely going to help you make better decisions. Going back to the house decision, Yeah, I could have stayed in that house and so would have put away like 25%, which is still really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's like I'd rather put away 50%.
Oof.
Now there's a period where I was getting up to like 60%, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all, we were getting kind of tight on that. So we found the balance at a 50% savings slash investment rate. We're okay with spending money on some things. I've been to some concerts recently. We're going to the beach in June.
You went to Seattle last year.
Yeah. Went to Seattle. We're talking about going to Gatlinburg later on this year. Like there's things that we're okay with spending money on that we couldn't, but now we're in this place because of the decisions that we've made and the discipline that we've had. We've been able to, kind of pull off the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say it. You've positioned yourself for success, and you have options.
Right, options are big.
If this economy keeps getting crazy and we do possibly go into a recession, you're going to be okay. You might even still make money during that time.
Yeah,
it's like what I like to say about Buffett. He's always positioned for success. If the market goes down, he makes money. If the market goes up, he makes money. If he has cash sitting on the side and money market funds, he's still making billions of dollars. And that's what you're setting your life up for. You get to live life on your terms eventually.
You're really buying your freedom. And freedom, the way that I think of freedom is not the freedom I think that a lot of people think. You're investing in being able to save your time, to be able to live your life on the terms that you want to set. And you don't need to have millions of dollars to do that. Somebody could be like, let's say that they pay off their home and they live on like $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of steep, but people could do that. You can set yourself up on like a target amount of money to be able to continually make to make a percentage and live off that 30%, off that 30K for like the rest of your life and be perfectly fine. Going back to you really quick.
Yes, sir.
We talked about budgeting being one of the things on the financial side. I want to talk about the relational side of this decision making. So, you mentioned that you and your wife basically had to come together and discuss the budget and discuss this stuff. How important do you feel being on the same page is?
Oh my gosh, it's the most important thing. And I'll even say this, before all this happened, we didn't have a joint bank account. We had two separate bank accounts. It wasn't, it's just one of those things when we first got married. Obviously, my wife got her last name changed and we were trying to go through the process to, get new identification and all that, but a lot of her stuff got lost. And then after that, I was seeing a couple bank failures. Let's just have
a couple bank failures.
Yeah. I was like, let's just have two banks. It wasn't something that I did out of spite or anything like that. I was like, let's just to be safe, let's have two. Yep. Well, so after all this stuff happened, we actually got together and we have one bank account now. And I get text messages anytime we swipe the card. It goes to my phone, it goes to her phone. So for one, it creates accountability. Two, it creates trust. And then lastly, I would say the biggest thing is you're gonna butt heads about things, especially when you've been used to living a different lifestyle. All of a sudden, you're gonna have to cut back on certain things, whether it be through hair, getting your nails done. Like I said, for me, it was buying ribeye steaks 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah,
at Sprouts. But yeah, it's hard. Those things you kind of feel entitled to because we live in this world that teaches you oh, you work so hard, you deserve all that. You've worked 40 hours this week, you're exhausted, you deserve to go get your nails done, you deserve to go get that ribeye. But we, like I said, it all comes back to delayed gratification.
Right.
We have bigger goals, we have bigger dreams, and it's not going to happen overnight. We're still we're 2 months into this, and I'll tell you, it's still a process.
Yeah.
And it's still something that we're getting better at. I can tell you, we're definitely going to go over the budget a little bit for this month, but we're gonna redo it for the next month, make a couple changes here or there, make more sacrifices, just kind of remodel everything. But yeah, it's still a process, but ultimately it makes your relationship stronger, because I mean, accountability in any relationship is important, and trust is important in any relationship. So
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the things that like we want to start going forward talking to, the demographic that we would like to talk to is like the teenagers. Like, y'all have an opportunity to really set yourself up, because even though you haven't lived a long time, you have so much knowledge at your disposal that you can be able to set yourself up for success in the long term. You can avoid the headaches that, like, a lot of us, even people like me and him, have had to like deal with. Like, I didn't really start investing until I was like 29.
Yeah, same. Exactly.
Like I missed out on 11 years of compound interest.
We could have been throwing our tips in there, like.
Yeah, I mean, we could have been doing something, you know what I mean? But we threw it all away. It's okay. Teenagers, I would encourage y'all, watch some of, like, I mean, shoot, I'll even say this. Find Dave Ramsey, find the Money Guys, Graham Stephan, like, find even like Caleb Hammer, one of my favorite content creators as recently. That guy deals with a lot of people's with a lot of people that I think are making mistakes that you could avoid by just starting right now and like thinking for yourself, and not being with the crowd, not being hive-minded, and you can really set yourself up for the future.
Yeah, you have the most powerful tool, and that's time. Time
is money. Time is everything, because you only have time if you think about it, because you're only here for so long.
Compounding doesn't work as well without longer time.
And that's the thing, is that,
and it just gets better,
Like, that's the thing, is that compound interest also, compound, I guess, life happens when you have more time in the finite amount of time you have. Compounding your time starts with compounding your finances.
Yeah.
Like, that's because people don't like to admit this, but the more money you have, the more options you have, the more time you have, and that's a common thing. Like, if I had $5 million at like 30, I don't got to work anymore.
That's true.
Like, that's just the thing. And I'm not saying that, you'll have, $5 million by the time you're 30, but we want to promote being able to have a better mindset and think more from a psychological, because everything after that pretty much comes in a positive way. Like, if your mindset and your psychology is low, I would say that it affects your decision making. It affects all other aspects of your life. And like, we've given examples from us on how we've been able, just over the past 9 months, how we've been able to continue to think more for ourselves and think what's best for us, block out the noise, sever ties with things that the culture tells us to do. And it's only been helping us out. And like, we can continue to go into more stuff like that in the future. But with the mindset that I've had over the past like 3 months, over the past year, because since we've started this channel, I've had only the same mindset, and it's only been doing well for me. And I think that it can do well for you. I would say that, my way of thinking might be different than yours. Find what works for you. Now, there's some very objective things, like, considering the future, delay gratification, but do it in a way that fits it for you and your family. Like, if you buying a house right now makes sense for you and your family, then do it.
Well, that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, it is a whole other episode, and we'll get into that. But internalize the thoughts that you have for your future. Create that into a vision path. Surround yourself with good people, with people that don't want to just make you live a life that is with the culture.
Create good habits.
Yeah, create good habits. Sacrifice. Delay your gratification. Consider your future. You can take that model and then interchange it with whatever aspects of your life that you want. You know, it doesn't have to be as extreme as me. It can be moderate, and you're really going to be setting yourself up for success. If you are a teenager, I would suggest to you to start looking this stuff up right now. Do you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, man, I love it. I love having conversations like this. Like I said from the very beginning, you know, it's all about building winning habits. You know, stack those wins, and learn. You know, get feedback, because you know, sometimes we have failure in life, but all failure is ultimately feedback and a way to improve things and do it better.
True.
So that's my big thing from today. Keep going forward. Position yourself, and you're gonna have options.
Position yourself.
You're gonna have options when things get difficult. So that's what life's about.
We love you guys. We hope that this helps y'all to some capacity. We want to hope to do the Grow Show probably like once a week, and we're gonna be having a bunch of like different conversations because you know we want to be a place where this can add some level of value to your life, in some ways be able to help you on your journey going forward. So with that being said, my name is Ryan. This is Eric. We're giving Grow. We hope y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll see y'all later.